Hello, beautifuls. Are we live? I think we are. I think we are on. Oops. We're on and throwing the phone around. Let me know if you are around. Say hello. I have just done a very grown-up activity this afternoon. I have completed my tax return. So exciting, but it is actually genuinely exciting. It is less exciting having the tax bill element of it, but it is a moment of recognition, and it made me think about the reasons why I started a business in the first place, because we then have to do things like this and you're like, oh gosh, like that's the scary part of business, I guess. But for me, the scariest part of business was actually taking that leap. So if there's anyone else who is also on the verge or has already taken that leap into self-employment, then I'm giving you a high five, because we did it. And it's so lovely to be celebrating that it has now been just over a year of being fully self-employed, which is just phenomenal. And it has not been easy. It has certainly been a roller coaster. I have been on job sites, I think, every other month, thinking that I can't do it and that I'm going to have to go back, and it's terrifying. But what keeps me going, and what I think is really important for anyone who has a business, whether it's a hobby kind of business on the side or whether it is your full-time venture, it's really important that we remember why we are doing these things. And for me, my business started out very much as a healing space for people and also a community space for people. And love and belonging is one of my top values. So that's always going to be something that I find incredibly important when it comes to what I offer and what I do and the workspaces that I put myself into. That's why I love my retreats and like the in-person stuff. But it is so interesting to see how things evolve over time. And even when I look back at like the healing modalities that I have used and loved and still sometimes go back to, like things like Reiki and womb healing, they're gorgeous, but I'm a very different kind of healer now. And even just looking at that evolution is flabbergasting, I think is a good word for it. But it's beautiful to see that evolution. So if you're watching this and you've not had a moment of reflection, just look back at how far you have come and how you have evolved, not only as a business, but as the person behind the business, because I think that's really key. And I spend a lot of my time now actually helping people stop healing and stop the need for it and the almost like the addiction to healing that we get, because, you know, we go for Reiki treatments or whatever, and I still do this. I go for Reiki really regularly and it feels lovely, but it's temporary. And what I'm teaching people now is showing them how to have that feeling consistently, because otherwise it's like almost like a drug, isn't it? It's like, oh, I just want to feel a certain way, and I'll go and do this healing, or I'll go on this day retreat or whatever it is, and I'll get that temporary high, and then it disappears again. But also what that's doing in the background is just regulating your body back to your familiar state. And if you're trying to manifest something different than your familiar state, then we don't want to keep healing and regulating you back to the same place, because that's why you get stuck. And then you go, I'm doing the things, I'm doing the healing, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the mindset stuff, and I'm still back here again. And that can feel really like confronting, and it pisses us off, because we think, well, why? Because I'm doing this stuff and I'm trying, so why am I still at the same place? So it's just interesting to see that evolution from even just the healing perspective, that I now heal people in a very different way to activate them and get them to move, but also to expand them so they're healing to a new level, not back to where you've already always been. So yeah, really, really interesting. But I also thought this is a really nice time to share, one, why I started the business, which yes, was for healing and community, but also what it looks like now. I know I've got a lot of new followers, so thank you and hello and welcome to the Madhouse, and just explain what my vision is. So this will speak to all those of you who have a similar vision, and we're here to make the world a better place, especially when it is a little bit chaotic at the moment, a little bit uncertain at the moment. I'm not somebody who does watch the news, but I am aware of things going on. I'm aware of very different collective energy happening at the moment as well. There's a lot of uncertainty and hesitation around even what we're doing in our own lives. And I'm seeing and feeling a lot of people afraid to take action at the moment because we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. So there's a lot of shifts happening energetically. And I know for a lot of people, especially those that follow astrology, we've come into this year of the horse, and I think a lot of people are expecting things to happen really, really quickly, but in a really positive way. And that's not necessarily been the case for them. And then they start to worry and beat themselves up and then write the year off and think, well, fuck it. Like, this is clearly not my year. The horse has run away. I've lost my horse. I never had a saddle to begin with. And they then start on that downward spiral. So the work that I am doing now, obviously the reason for it initially was around healing and community. But also what's been really important for me along my whole journey, many of you will know my background was actually in universities as an academic in business and psychology and marketing. And universities are very traditional institutions. They are all run differently. For the most part, I had an absolute ball when I worked inside universities. There were a lot of things I didn't agree with and a lot of things that I found a challenge with, especially as I was coming towards the end and about to, step away from the industry. But also, because of the nature of them, and this doesn't apply to all of them, they are providing a brilliant education. There are some amazing lecturers and amazing staff in these places. But we are also restricted when we're in that space as to what we can teach and how much we can almost focus on the student. Because if you've got 300 students in your cohort, in your lecture theatre, how are you expected to tailor that experience almost to those individual students? Now, as someone who can literally see people's souls and read and feel their energy at any one time, let me tell you, walking into a lecture theatre of 300 students was an experience on many different levels. But I knew what they needed to hear, and I knew what was going to help them and what was actually going to enable them to absorb the information that they needed to know to pass the course or the assignment, whatever was coming up. But I also knew what their real dreams and aspirations were, and I could also see the path that they were meant to go on. And very often it wasn't the path that had put them in that room. So that was quite challenging for me to overcome at certain times, because I had to obviously stick to a curriculum and a plan. You can't just walk into a lecture theatre and be like, today I'm going to teach you, quantum manifestation, when actually you're doing a lecture on economics. We had to kind of stick to whatever it was that we were teaching. But this has shown me the value in education that speaks to the human and caters to the soul at the same time. And this was one of the reasons that when I had the idea for the University of Alchemy and Manifestation that came through to me while I was in Arizona, which is why we have the phoenix as the logo, also very symbolic of rising from the ashes. But when I had this idea, I was like, it makes perfect sense, because I have been in universities, obviously, throughout a vast majority of my career. I was in universities for like 15, 16 years. Why not have my own university that is online, but we have in-person stuff. We have our in-person retreats and events. Maybe one day it will be a brick and mortar institution, who knows? But at the moment it's an online space, and I always describe it as like a sexy Hogwarts. It's like Hogwarts for grown-ups, because it's not just teaching you a curriculum, there is a curriculum, and there's stuff in there where you can learn all about astrology, you can learn about business, you can learn about manifestation. So yes, there's teachings in that sense. But I also wanted a space where we can talk about the spiritual aspects, where we can look at your soul path, where you can connect to that version of you who I call your highest self. It is your soul self, not just in this lifetime, in all lifetimes, and actually connect into that, where you can connect and speak with your spirit guides. And, imagine if I'd have brought that up inside a lecture theatre, inside a university in this country. I think they may have locked me up or really questioned, what on earth have my spirit guides got to do with a marketing campaign? Well, actually quite a lot, and they can be very helpful. If you want to use them as part of your marketing team, it's actually really useful. But the reason that I started the university was so we could have a space where everyone actually belongs, because this was another thing that I saw inside universities. There were students that would go and have their lunch in their car and not interact with other people, and not want to interact with other people, but also they didn't feel safe to. And there was always the very obvious cliques going on, which I know is part of, human nature. But I wanted a space for the people that maybe you were the person having lunch in your car. Maybe you were the outsider when you were at school or college or university yourself. And, I'm trying to remember the TV program where it was like the University for Misfits or the College for Misfits or something. I can't remember what university it was. It might have been American Horror Story. But this is a space where it doesn't matter if you are psychic and talking to spirits. It doesn't matter if you are what I call my neurodivine individuals. It doesn't matter if you were seen as the odd one or the weirdo or the overly sensitive person. This is a space for everyone, and it's a safe space where you can explore those things that maybe you don't even want to talk to with your nearest and dearest. It might be like, oh, I'm actually quite curious about how I work with tarot, or I'm actually quite intrigued as to what this is all about when we're talking about moon cycles or planets in astrology. I wonder if that could actually help me, but you don't want to talk about it to your loved ones because they might be like, oh, what the hell is it? That's not real, or you don't believe in that, do you? And, the judgment starts and we start to worry about it. So this was one of the reasons that I created the university, was a space for everybody where there is literally no judgment. And you have that community. We also have community houses. So just like Hogwarts, you have your own house community, which is awesome. And the reason behind that is, one, because it's really cool and you get to decide which house you want to be in. But also, as the university does grow and expand, it won't lose the intimacy because there are houses and each house will be smaller. So you would always have that intimate community as well as the wider community as well as the university gets bigger. But this is where my passion comes from. It's the passion for authentic education, but also not confusing people. And this is something that I see a lot. You've probably experienced this yourself. If you are someone who loves self-development, chances are you have hopped around from course to course. You probably have a gazillion certificates. If you're anything like me, you're qualified in everything, not necessarily using half of it. And over time, the more you do that, the more you do learn, and the more you gather all these certifications, the more they start to contradict themselves. And I was talking about this earlier in the context of fitness, in that, we follow these people online and on Instagram, and then one person will be telling you, well, you should be doing X amount of cardio. Another person will tell you that you need to be doing weightlifting. Another person will tell you that you can just do Pilates. There's so much noise and conflicting information, and 100% in the spiritual world and in the manifestation world, there is an awful lot of noise. And that then creates confusion because you don't know who to listen to. And the reason for having the university is that you have the honest and open and the truthful science and psychology behind all of that information, so you can then make informed decisions as to what is true for you. But also, you're connecting back to yourself, you're connecting back to your body as a human, but you're also connecting back to your intuition, your spirit team, and your psychic abilities. And when you do that, you stop looking outside for the answers because you know they're all in here or up there, however you view it. And I think this is so, so important, especially the more we have, AI and more technologies, and these are brilliant. And as an Aquarius, I love the technology. I love the advancement. I love the futuristic possibilities that we have. But so many people are turning to AI, not just telling them, how to run their business, creating a shopping list for the week, actually very handy, but also for guidance and like a life coach in AI. And it will be very agreeable with you, but also the more we outsource that, the more we ask a robot effectively, the less we're going to be connected to in here and the less we're going to be connected to spirit. And for me, that isn't okay. And that terrifies me on a collective level, that that's the direction we're headed in. So the real drive behind the university, it's not just to educate you on the fun stuff around manifestation and the advanced practices for manifestation that actually connect to your psychology and how you operate and how to work with your energetic frequency and how to timeline jump and all those really fun, cool things. But most importantly, to make sure that you do not lose the connection to you, your soul essence, and your spirit family. Because when you lose that, you're going to have to come back and do it all again. So that for me is the biggest driver. And it's something that I have most certainly hidden behind as well. Like I said at the start, when I very first started the business, it was very much around healing and bringing people together. And then it's kind of gone on its own little journey, and I've helped people in relationships. So a little bit more of like the relationship coaching and around attachment styles, and how we attract and magnetize. And then that led into manifestation and how we attract and magnetize other things as well as relationships. And then with obviously my business and my psychology background from the academic world, that then shifted into a bit of business coaching and strategy. And I love all of that. And I can absolutely bring all of that to the table. And it all lives inside the university. That's why it's a university. You can pick and choose what it is you want to study. But the real reason that I am here, my purpose in this lifetime, is to lead with my spiritual connection, to lead with my intuition. I have gifts that I cannot explain, that I won't even talk about to a lot of people, and yet here I am broadcasting it on Instagram. Who knows who's going to see this? But there are things that I know, there are things that I can see, there are things that I cannot explain, but they will activate you in a way that you won't be able to explain. I can see exactly where you need to go and what you need to do, who you're going to become, what you're destined for, what's in the way, and I can remove that. And I have no idea how to explain how on earth that happens. And when I'm in front of someone, people often think like, oh gosh, is she psychologically profiling me? Like she's looking at me. I don't want to look her in the eye. And of course, I can, but I'm not. And it can be like a constant stream of information when I'm sat in front of someone, if their guides are particularly active or my guides have something that they really need me to pass on, but I can also switch that off. So it doesn't have to be a constant stream. It's very important that we can turn these things on and off, right? But that is an incredible gift, and it's something that I have been hiding, and that is doing all of you a disservice, as well as myself and as well as my spirit team, who are not too happy when I'm hiding them. So this is where we get to create a really special place inside the university. It is accessible for everybody. There are scholarships, there are payment plans, there is lifetime access, there is self-study. It's just the most beautiful, wonderful space. Every house has its own captain as well, which is just beautiful. And who knows, maybe one day it will be a brick and mortar institution. But if you've been looking for a space where you can talk about magic and where you can question it and where you can scrutinize it and where you can look at certain things that you've learned or certain practices that you've been using for manifestation and go, what the fuck is this? And how does this work? Or why does this not work? And actually be in a space where you can critique things openly and actually understand the how and the why behind all of it as well. Should you wish to, you don't have to at all. You can just keep it purely magical. But if you want to know that science and psychology behind it, then that is available to you. But most importantly, we are working with you as a human, with your brain, your psyche, your psychology, your energetics, being in a human body, and actually working on your capacity so you can actually receive all the things without going back to that baseline we spoke about earlier, which is what typically happens if you are just doing like nervous system regulation or you're doing a lot of healing. You're taking yourself back to a baseline that you don't want to have because you want to progress and become a different version of you who has different things in their life. And therefore, we want to expand you to that point. And then you regulate to that set point instead. It's like a little thermostat. So this is why we have the university. So if any of this little ramblings and my reflections of my business has spoken to you, then pop me a DM or jump onto the links that live in my bio. You can find out more about the university there as well. But my mission is to not hide the spiritual aspect and to help more people use that in their business as well. The more of you that are using your natural gifts, your psychic gifts and your intuition to help you navigate business, to help you navigate life and relationships, the easier that it gets to be. And the more people start to explore the truth behind things like tarot and astrology and manifestation and how it can actually be so beneficial in every area of your life, but not in the way that you have perhaps thought, then we can start to make a real change and start to give people that real education rather than things that keep them going back, and education that makes you dependent as well. You see that a lot, especially in like health and fitness industries. But the university is made to empower you and connect to your gifts and your energy, your frequency, but most importantly, your purpose, so that you actually live the life that you're meant to. So if you want to come on this journey with me, it's a roller coaster journey. It's a hell of a journey. But I will never ask any of my clients, anyone who works with me, anyone who is in my world, to walk a path that I have not walked myself or I'm not prepared to walk myself. So everything that we work on, everything that we go through, I have walked through it already. So if you want to join for this crazy ride, I'm actually doing some fun giveaways and exclusive offers this weekend because it's actually my first wedding anniversary weekend, which has come around so fast, so fast. But yeah, we're going to be celebrating over the weekend, so do jump into my WhatsApp community. I will figure out a way of putting a link on here. I have no idea if I can do it on here. If not, it's in my bio, it's on my link tree. You can find the link or just send me a DM and I'll add you into the group. And if you have got any questions about the university, it is for a very special kind of individual who is not just looking for education and self-development and keeping themselves gathering those certificates. It is for those of you that are actually ready to press that go button again and start making moves to where you want to be. Whether or not your fire horse has bolted, that doesn't matter. You have got the university to back you and to support you and to show you the path that you're meant to be on. Okay, my loves. Anyone else who's already done their tax return, celebrating you, celebrating those of you that are making big, bold moves and making life-changing decisions, just like taking that leap into self-employment was for me. And I wish you all the most gorgeous weekend, and I'll speak to you very soon. Mwah!